Hey, what's up everybody? Taking a break from the usual, doing a little finance thing here. So I wanted to talk to you about this article that I saw on CNBC, and if I ever come across something interesting or think that people may be interested in it, if it's something that maybe can be helpful, or if I have some experiences to share, I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. I'll be covering more finance stuff and kind of like practical everyday stuff for everybody. So hopefully you get some insight out of this. So again, CNBC, it says, should you use credit, debit, or cash for everyday purchases? We asked an expert. With their many perks and rewards, credit cards can be a financially sound decision for all of your purchases, but don't totally rule out debit cards and cash just yet. Rob Griffin of Experian tells us why. Cash, debit, or credit, which should you use for everyday purchases? And ignore the junk here along the side. I tried to use my face to cover up that stuff. It's just a bunch of credit card junk. I'm not trying to sell anything here, so that's why I try to put my face here to cover up a lot of that stuff. But it says here, when to use credit cards. With all their perks and rewards, using credit cards can be a financially sound decision. With credit, you can take advantage of some key benefits you don't get with cash or debit cards. But using credit is also dependent on your ability to live within your means. It's a question of, are you using credit as an additional income source, or are you using credit to take advantage of other financial opportunities, Griffin says. For example, road warriors can maximize the points they earn at gas stations with specific gas reward credit cards. We'll skip that other part. It looks like they're trying to sell you some junk there. Next paragraph it says, so if you use a credit card the next time you fill up your gas tank and make a run to the supermarket and then pay off the balance in full at the end of the month, you can enjoy the rewards. But if you don't pay off the balance or you pay your bills late, you may end up paying a lot in late fees and interest charges. And I think that's pretty much something we all know. In my experience, I'll talk about a little bit later, but it was going to be the same. Making sure that you're responsible with your cards, and if you're somebody who is, and you know that your income each month is going to be sufficient to cover your purchases, if you're somebody like that who's really responsible, then you definitely want to try to take advantage of all the bonuses and offers and everything. Hopefully you all know this and you get that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, I assume. But sometimes it's good to reinforce the knowledge that we have. So for instance, in my case, I just use a MasterCard. I'm not going to name it. It came with bonus points after the first year or if I hit a certain threshold. And that's what you'll see a lot of them come as. For instance, there was an airlines card I recently applied for and I got it, but you had to spend $2,000 within the first 3 months and you got like 40,000 bonus miles. So it was all just a miles card. $2,000 was no big deal because I was flying out to Hawaii anyway, needed to get 2 tickets, so that was going to get me halfway there anyway, or close to it. And then there was another threshold where if you hit $4,000 or $6,000 spent within the first 6 months, then they would give you an additional 20,000 miles, but I wasn't really worried about hitting that threshold. I was mainly looking at the first threshold, the bar, which was pretty low, and that was just spending $2,000 on the card within the first 3 months. And they would give you the 40,000 miles, which is just about enough to actually get to Hawaii. I'm going out there later again in the year anyway, so I was like, okay, why not try to get a free ticket to Hawaii out of this? But again, you have to be responsible. Make sure you're paying those balances off on time. If you're not, and you find that you can't, like your income isn't to that level where you can pay off these balances every month, don't do it. Stay away. I'd say stay away. Avoid them in credit cards. You get what I'm saying. So it says here, credit cards aren't for everybody. And this may... Well, it says here, number 2, credit cards aren't for everyone, and maybe that'll cover a lot of what I was saying. Well, it says here, at the end of the day, your method of payment really does depend on you as an individual and how you want to spend your money. As credit card bills have become the biggest source of debt for millennials, beating out student loan debt, I've always said that credit cards aren't for everyone, Griffin says. It really does depend on your personality, the way you manage money, your relationship with money, and your ability to resist impulse buys. And again, here's where I think I'm good. I mentioned this in one of my other videos. I have a degree in finance, advanced degree in finance and business admin, so I like to hope I have a good relationship with money. I love having more of it, but at the same time, having the degree doesn't mean squat, right? If you don't make enough money, whatever job you're in, to kind of keep up with your tastes, then you're going to run into issues. And for me, I keep it pretty basic. Trust me, this sweater you see, I've had this thing for 5 years or more. Shirts I have that maybe you see me wear, same thing. I don't have these lavish tastes. So that's how I don't get into trouble with money. So if you're somebody like that who's really responsible with money, you would use your cards just for paying your utilities, for instance, again, knowing you can pay them off. Groceries, things like that, everyday purchases, gas, just things that you would buy anyway with cash, then you'll be fine. But once you get that plastic, if you start to get a little, you start to see it as, like they said above, an extra source of income, then that's when you get in trouble. Number 3, it says when to use debit cards. If you're using a credit card to live beyond your means or pay for everyday purchases because you can't otherwise afford them, you may be better served using a debit card. When you use your debit card, you are effectively making a cash transaction. So you don't have the same issue of using a credit card to charge purchases you can't really afford if you aren't thoughtful and deliberate in the way you use that credit account. Of course, you do need to make sure you don't overdraft on your account, which can result in paying high fees. For many, when it comes to using debit cards over cash or credit, it's really just a convenience issue. And that's right? Because who really carries cash anymore? Some businesses may be cash only, like some Chinese restaurant or some donut place you may go to, some smaller mom and pop shop that may say cash only. But other than that, your debit card or your credit card is going to cover you for most places. Convenience. Griffin says here, I actually personally will use a debit card. If I go out to eat, for example, we tend to use a debit card, my wife and I, because we see it as a cash now, and that's our habit. And that's definitely sound advice, right? If you know you're somebody who's kind of paycheck to paycheck or you're cutting it pretty close every month, definitely avoid those credit cards. It's not worth it. You see these rewards. And of course, you guys and gals know that's how they try to lure you in. That's the point of offering the rewards, offering the miles. It's not because they're nice and they want to reward you for paying off your bill every month. It's to get you, entice you in. And like I said, you guys and gals, you know this. If you're one of those individuals that pays it off on time every time, then this could be something that you can use to your advantage. So number 4 here is when to use cash. Using cash has the same financial implications as using a debit card, but with cash you may actually spend less than you would swiping a card because it's more tangible and you could actually see the money go away. That is great. That is a great psychology of it all. I mean, who wants to see money leaving our account and our wallet getting drained, right? So credit or debit cards are so easy to use that you can swipe it without thinking about how much you actually spend. With cash, it's easier to have a sense of what you're spending. If you're using cash in particular, real paper greenbacks, when your purse or wallet is empty, you're done. That's just what I was saying, right? So you can limit your spending in that way, Griffin says. For some people, being restricted to using only cash may be a better approach. If you still want to rack up credit card rewards, be deliberate in the way you use your card. Perhaps it is a mix of different methods that's best for you. You may use your cash for buying dinner, but use credit for bigger purchases just because it suits your budget and your financial style better, Griffin says. Not to mention, carrying cash as a backup is a smart idea in case there is an everyday purchase you want to make where the vendor doesn't accept credit, which is what I talked about above. You may have been advised by your parents to always have cash on you. Despite the rising trend of Americans using cards over cash, Griffin points out that there is, in many cases, a generational difference when it comes to method of payment preferences. As a more seasoned individual myself, there is a tendency to use cash. By more seasoned, I assume he means older. So number 5, he says here, if you're using a credit card for everyday purchases, consider this. If you're using a credit card to make all of your purchases, you should also consider the future implications it has on your credit score. By using credit for every purchase, you can easily end up using a substantial portion of your available credit limit, which can have a negative impact on your credit score. If, as a result of using your credit card to make purchases, you have a high utilization rate, that can drag down your credit score, and that can be important in longer-term decisions. If you need to buy a new car or you want to apply for a mortgage loan in the future, this could impede that process. So there's a longer-term concern to consider when making smaller everyday purchases. And this is definitely something I'd agree with here. Again, I have to emphasize this, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say it enough. If you're somebody who is responsible, and I would say this, say whatever your rent is, and then your income you're taking in, if you have this buffer every month where you see yourself being able to save cash, say you're putting away to your 401k or 403b as well, but you're still able to see $500 in the bank, $1,000 in the bank, or $500 in the bank, $1,000 in the bank, or you're able to send something to some kind of investment. So say like for me, whatever money I have every month, I'm able to send away to a mutual fund. If there's that money every month, then you know you're okay in the sense that you're probably doing all right income-wise, and you're responsible with your spending to where you have something left every month. So that's definitely another way I would look at the conundrum of, hey, Should I be looking at these credit cards? And again, I'm just trying to throw this out there. And I know a lot of you know this, but I just, again, like I said, if you hear it over and over again, hopefully it'll help some people out. I figure most of us use debit or credit anyway. But again, if there's a credit card out there that has some reward, and again, if you know you're responsible, I mean, really, you have to really be honest with yourself. It's one of those things where you've got to be accountable to yourself. Nobody else is going to care if you get into debt and you start making these purchases, you start racking up these finance charges. Nobody's going to care. You really have to be accountable to yourself and be honest with yourself and really look down deep and say, hey, can I handle this? Is my income good? Are my expenses good? Do I have everything under control in my life where I can make this work? Next time you're at the register, think again about your method of payment. Though there may not seem to be any reasoning for the form of currency you choose to use to complete a transaction, how you pay for general purchases can say a lot about your financial well-being. And if you are using a credit card or multiple cards for everyday purchases, be aware that there are more implications to buying things on credit, both potentially positive and negative. But at the same time, if your balances aren't too high, you're paying them off in full at the end of each month, and you're taking advantage of things like additional security and rewards, using credit cards can be the right choice for you. I just thought that was a useful article to put out there for you, and like I said, hopefully just sharing my experiences with it, maybe it'll help some people kind of think it through. But I liked what he said, and I'll go back to what he was saying up in number 5, where he was talking about the mortgage thing. You definitely need to know that they're going to look at that. So again, it goes back to paying those balances off in full. Auto loan as well. There was a time where my credit wasn't so good when I was just starting out. You know, I had credit cards, but I was trying to get an auto loan and I was just getting out of college and stuff like that. So it was difficult. Actually, I had to put a larger down payment down because I didn't have much of an established history. And I had been using the credit cards at a high utilization rate, like it pointed out there, because it took me some time after I graduated to find a job. When I graduated, the economy was pretty tough around that time. And so when I finally got the job, then I started to pay down the debt. And then I was able to look at finally getting a new vehicle. Then they did. I mean, they pulled a report. You know how it goes. And it was tough. They gave me a higher interest rate. I had to put more down just in order for them to qualify me. Honda. But, I mean, it worked out. And then I was able to make big additional payments every month. And I got that car paid off pretty quickly. Well, before I wrap this up, let me tell you real quick about the rewards card I use. And I only keep one for all my purchases, all my everyday stuff. If I see a great offer, like I said on that airlines reward, or sometimes Amazon had this store card thing where I was looking at buying some item that was like $170, and they had an offer where it was $100 off right then if you applied. So I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to take that. I'll pay $70 for that $170 item, no problem. So store cards, I'll have those little special offers sometimes. They'll give you like $50 off your first statement or $100 off your statement. And banks will do the same thing to try to entice you to bring new money into their bank. I always get those things in the mail from Chase. They'll say, hey, if you put $10,000 of new money and open this new account, we'll give you $300 if you leave it in there for 6 months. So same kind of thing. They're just trying to entice you to do business with them. So with my one card I use, it's good because it gives me 2 times the points. So it's like 2 points for every dollar I spend on utilities. So I make sure to set up my auto pay for cable, gym membership. I'm not able to do the power bill because they want that with debit only, or else there's some convenience fee. Anything I can put on that's an auto pay, I'll put on that. Groceries are 2 times the points as well. Gas, like I said. So all these things you're doing every day, racking up 2 times the points, 2 points for every dollar, it adds up. And in 2018, here's the thing. I had this card for maybe a couple years, and we were going overseas, purchased a couple tickets, was going to Asia. Tickets ended up being about $700 round trip, so $1,400 total. And within the credit card itself, the card I referred to earlier, the MasterCard, I had about $1,200 saved up. So I was able to just use that and apply it towards that. So it almost paid off the flight. But again, that's me being responsible. Income's good to where I can cover it. So ever since 2018, been saving up the points again and going out to Asia again in 2021. I'm at about $750 worth of rewards right now. So by the time next year rolls around and it's time to go, I should be close to 1,000 again. So it's just kind of a way that I do it. It's like a piggy bank in a way. Got to be responsible and not touch it, but it helps cover the cost of those tickets. So again, that's just how I do it. Hopefully, whoever's watching this, guys, girls, any age, hopefully you see this and it just kind of gives you a little idea of the possibilities of how you can work it and how you can use it to your advantage if you're somebody who pays your stuff off in full every month. So take care, everybody, and hopefully you can take advantage of these cards because the opportunity's there. It's there if you're good with your money. Cards are making money off other people who aren't able to pay their bills on time. That's why they offer the rewards. But for individuals who are good with it, you can really take advantage of it. So think about it. And again, be honest though. Be honest. Don't get in trouble with this stuff. You don't want to get in trouble with it and have these situations where you're owing these balances every month. Just don't go there. Trust me. Use cash if that's the thing. Use cash, be responsible. So again, take care, everybody. And I hope the best for you financially, and that I hope that you got something out of this video. As I said, take care.